So all right, so Dr. K, whenever you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Alexa. Very, very happy to see all of you, and the attendance for this program is great. I'm Dr. Kitisu, Poti Kitisu. I'm the advisor to the Economics Club. And with that, I would like to pass it on to Dr. Siriani to introduce himself.
Thanks, Dr. K. My name is Philip Siriani. I'm chair of the economics department, and just want to thank Dr. K, the Economics Club, and Michelle Hansen for their hard work in putting this series together. It's really been great, and we have another special program tonight. It's my pleasure to welcome 4 recent economics graduates for our third and final session of the Life After Graduation series for fall 2021, all of whom I had in multiple classes and were superstars there. So your success in graduate programs and employment is not one bit of a surprise. So thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us tonight, and really for staying in touch. It means a lot to us, and this is what it's all about. So I just want to start with some introductions of our panelists. If you could please introduce yourself, as Alexa was saying, tell us a little bit about yourself, your current position, whatever else you'd like to add. Can we start with Matthew?
Sure. Thank you guys for inviting us to do this. It's good to be able to give back. But I'm Matthew. I graduated in 2019. Currently, I am an assistant vice president and underwriter at Dime Community Bank.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Our most recent graduate, Pi.
Hey everyone, I'm Pi. Like Dr. Siriani said, I'm a recent graduate, just graduated this past spring. I'm currently an MBA candidate at the University at Buffalo, and on the side, I'm a graduate assistant for the graduate programs office there, and I'm part of the consulting group as well. And it's a pleasure to be back and see the future of Oneonta.
All right, good to see you, Pi. All right, Amanda.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for having us. I'm Amanda. I graduated in 2019, and my current role is a financial analyst for a firm named Epic.
All right, good to see you, Amanda. And last but not least, Kevin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin. I graduated in 2018, and I'm currently a data analyst for the U.S. Department of Justice. I'm excited to talk to y'all today.
Good to see you, Kevin. And thanks again to all 4 of you. We've got a great turnout. I'm sure it will be interesting and informative. We also have a couple of special guests joining us tonight, some folks who have a vested interest in hearing about our student successes. So I'd like to welcome them. Is Dean Dunn here?
Good to see everybody. Nice to see such a good turnout. And I want to thank everybody who's involved in it.
Thanks, Dean Dunn. Dean Dunn is the Dean of the School of Liberal Arts and Business, where the Economics Department is housed. I believe Provost Lee is also with us tonight. Provost Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Siriani, and thank you for pulling this together, Dr. Kitisu. This is a really marvelous group, and I am myself an alumnus of this august institution, though wasn't smart enough to be an economics major, I was told. But I had great respect for some of the econometricians, including Dr. O'Day and Dr. Ring and others who did extraordinary work. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming back, alums, and this is the future, as Pi just mentioned. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. And our new college president, President Cardeye, also is here and would like to say a few words. President Cardeye.
Thank you, Dr. Siriani. So my name is Alberto Cardey, and I'm the new president. I've been on campus now for 3 months and was very glad to hear about this event and wanted to make sure that I took some time to not only see our alum, but really see the efforts and this. I mean, I think synergy and ecosystem sometimes are overused words, but in reality, what we're experiencing today, what I'm experiencing today, is that part of that ecosystem or synergy that's created. Because here we have faculty who have taught alum who are now being brought back by students to help them prepare in their collegiate, post-baccalaureate experiences and opportunities, and that this is organized in collaboration with both the department and the student club. I think just it's like a perfect Christmas present or another holiday present all wrapped up, because it really brings in all the components of what an academic community should be doing, and both those that are alum and successful, especially in this area, like Provost Lee. I tried to delve into economics. My background is in public health, but I was never able to really understand and manipulate the demand curve issue. So I never followed up on economics. But I'm very respectful of the power of economics, both in my field of health policy and health finance, as well as international development, which is the other field that I had before coming into higher education. And then, so before taking too much more time, one more second to thank the organizers, both Dr. Kitisu and Dr. Siriani, and the student club, which I know will lead the discussion. But again, kudos. I think that this is a great opportunity for not only the economics department, for other departments to learn from. And to our alum, thank you for giving back to the institution. And I look forward to seeing you in other alumni events into the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So now I'll turn it over to Alexa Laska, the Economics Club president, who will moderate tonight's event. Alexa?
Hello, hi everyone. So my name is Alexa. As Dr. Siriani said, I'm the president of the Economics Club this year, as well as Logan Conti, who is vice president on our e-board, Alex Borbis, who is our treasurer, Noah Davis, who is one of our 2 PR chairs, Justin Almanzar, who is our secretary, and Olivia Halligan, who is our other PR chair. This year, we have really worked to kind of get the club back on its feet, especially during and following COVID. And we're very thankful to have the opportunity to work with Dr. Kitisu, who is our advisor, and Michelle Hansen from the Alumni Association to put on events like this one. And thank you again to our panelists for being here. To address a couple of questions and explain how tonight's program will work. Some students are here for lead credit, and in order to receive the lead credit, we do ask that you participate in the chat, ask the panelists a question, whether it's a general question for all panelists, or if it's for one specific panelist, please put their name first, colon, and then whatever your question is. Justin will be moderating that chat, and actually I don't have him pinned, so if I see him pop up real quick, I'll pin him as well, so that way we can see. Yeah. So there will be 4 questions prepared for each panelist. The order of questions will be Matthew, then Pi, then Amanda, then Kevin. I will ask Matthew's question. Noah will ask Pi's questions. Alex will ask Amanda's questions, and Logan will ask Kevin's questions. This will be the order for all of the questions that we ask. So as we mentioned, there's 4 questions that we're going through from the list that panelists have received. And then we do have a short list of general questions. We're going to try to get through maybe 3 or 4 of those, but we're really going to rely on the chat, just so everyone is aware of that. Are there any questions before we get started? All right. If not, as I mentioned before, please, if your name is not something that's in the Oneonta system, as it's written on Zoom, please message Justin Almanzar privately or Michelle Hansen privately, your @Oneonta email address, so we can track attendance accordingly. Are we ready to get started, everyone? Wonderful. So the first question that we have for Matthew, We're wondering how your economics degree applies to your current career and in what ways you prepared for your career.
Sure. So coming out of college, I wasn't really familiar at all with the commercial real estate industry or underwriting in general. For those who aren't familiar as well, an underwriter basically does risk analysis for potential loans to the bank, takes financial data and interprets it into a credit approval report and presents it to credit committees for approval. One of the reasons that I've been able to be so successful in this role and been able to advance so quickly in this industry is because of the skill set that I developed from being an economics major and especially from senior seminar. I had minimal to no industry knowledge or no direct underwriting experience before I started, but I had developed critical thinking and presentation skills throughout the coursework here, and senior seminar really kind of fine-tune them. Sometimes it's difficult to underwrite a loan to kind of get it to hit a certain benchmark for a number for approval. So that's where the critical thinking kind of comes in, where how do I make this deal work? And the presentation skills come in, obviously. I have to present it to a credit committee and executives for approval. So really my advice here is to really take advantage of senior seminar. The feedback that you get from your peers and faculty on your presentation skills, practice them and really hone in on those. Also, when you're with your advisor, really take advantage of that time, pick their brain and kind of, ask how they got to the conclusions that they've drawn. I think if I had to pick one class from my econ degree that relates most to my career, it would probably be senior seminar.
That's fantastic. Thank you. That's great advice. And of course, if anyone out there does have a question on what underwriting is or anything like that, please feel free to utilize the chat function, ask a question like that. That is so important. We do acknowledge that a lot of our club members are not economics majors or really even in the field. But thank you again, Matthew. And we are going to move on to Noah and Pi.
Hello, hi, Pi. The next question for you is, how has your experience in economics helped you with your MBA program?
Hi, Noah. It's definitely helped a lot. Definitely say like learning economics is more like the theoretics, the market trends, supply and demand. And then when I went into the MBA program, like it's more just like, I guess, the business itself, all aspects, marketing, finance, accounting, and then there's even like the behavioral and communication aspects of it, where you just learn how to like behave in the office and communicate as a leader for your group. So yeah, it's basically it's cool too, especially because like there'll be points in class that are like every class I've been is like, oh, something I've learned from economics has come up. Professors even say like, oh, like who's taken economics before, and like I'll be one of the few students to raise my hand and be like, oh, this is exactly what I remember. And there's definitely like Matt said, like the moments in senior seminar too, where it's like, because in the MBA program there's a lot of presenting because you're going to be doing that in the real world, so they try to simulate that, and it's a lot of it. It's like you're a step ahead with I was a step ahead with the economics program, especially because like Matt said, senior seminar, you're presenting in front of your peers and faculty, and there's always feedback and there's always room to improve. Another resource I want to add into that was definitely the Fed Challenge class taught by Dr. Story. That's definitely one of the most useful and one of the most useful classes I've taken, because I don't think I'd be the student I was now without it. Between that and senior seminar, I definitely believe I developed a lot as a student, as a presenter, just gaining knowledge, because like it's those aspects, because like you learn the theory in the normal class, you take micro, macro, but when you're taking Fed Challenge, even senior seminar, you're applying those to like real life situations. Fed Challenge, you're applying it to the Federal Reserve, current events, monetary policy. Senior seminar, you're applying it to whatever topic of your choosing with economics. So it's really cool seeing having that apply, and that even translates more to the MBA program. I hope that answers your question, Noah.
It does. Thank you very much.
Hi, Amanda. How do you manage working a full-time job while also studying for your master's full-time?
Hey, Alex. This has definitely been a recent challenge for me. I think that one of the main things that helped me balance these two tasks was that I had been at my position for a year, pretty much exactly, before I started my courses. So I had a pretty good understanding of what my job was, what needed to be done. I was out of training. I was pretty much on my own and comfortable with my work. So that played a large part in being able to take time out of my day to focus on getting schoolwork done and proceeding with my master's. I think a large part of the adjustment was how much time I actually spent sitting in front of a computer. And I don't know if anything really prepares you. I didn't go to college during COVID, so you guys might have a better handle on that than I do. But like at least 10 to 12 hours a day, I was sitting at a desk. So something that I took away, and if you guys are going to go to school virtually and work virtually, maybe, I'm not sure. My biggest advice to you would be to get up and take breaks. I took my dog on a 10-minute walk every 3 hours, and it immediately helped me refocus, and it made my work that much easier, go by faster. So that's something that I would take away from if you're going to try and balance those two huge tasks at the same time.
Thanks, that's really good information.
Okay, next question for Kevin. What did you learn serving in the Student Association at Oneonta that has helped you succeed in your professional world?
Yeah, thanks. I think the Student Association provided me with a lot of growing and learning opportunities. And the big ones, beyond just learning about leadership and working with other students, is being in the executive branch. It kind of ran like a small office and a business, really. So they take in money through the student activity fee, and whether it's doling out money for club activities or managing the transportation program, putting on events, getting students together for events like that, you kind of learn both how to interact with customers, problem solving, even just simple things like conducting a meeting, all those little kind of office dynamics that no one will ever teach you, but you kind of got to pick up on the job. I got a head start on, and there's other opportunities like maybe interning over the summers kind of give you that same thing. But when you step into the office and you start to see, how to get work done and conduct a business when there is money at stake, and depending on where you go, public or private, it can be different. But that experience of kind of being a leader in a small microcosm of a business really provided me with a taste of what it would be like to move into the professional sector. So I would highly recommend it as a great growing opportunity available on campus.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. This is a great first round. So to start the second round, Matthew, when we had asked everybody all of the panelists, to maybe submit a couple of items that we were interested in chatting about, you had mentioned a temporary unemployment period that you had for yourself. So we're wondering what the hardest part about being unemployed was, and what advice you would give someone who's trying to get into an entry-level position.
Sure, Alexis. So with, COVID around and everything, this sort of COVID layoff is going to be more common unfortunately, in employment. So I would say the hardest part about being unemployed was that the job application process can be discouraging sometimes. You can read a job description and match all the qualifications, and sometimes you won't hear back, or you'll get a rejection email months later after you forgot to apply for the job. So it's tough when you put all this time into writing cover letters and filling out applications online manually. That could probably be found on your resume, but you still have to do it, just to not really get any feedback on yourself. But as far as advice goes, and I'm sure you may have heard this before or not, but you should treat not having a job as a job. So set aside a certain amount of time per day to research positions that interest you and apply to those positions. If you're not getting any hits on your applications, then I would recommend, setting aside some time to change your resume up a bit, maybe tailor it more to the job description. Definitely, I would recommend to put together a list of basic interview questions, especially if you're going for an entry-level position. They won't be as technical, and they'll be more, the common ones. They always start with, tell me about yourself, or some strengths and weaknesses, and maybe a time where you faced a challenge and you were able to overcome it. So just being able to, knock an interview out of the park, you'll be one step ahead. And definitely set aside some time to network. LinkedIn is a great platform, whether it's reaching out to people that are already in the position that you're applying for or working for the company that you want to work for. More often than not, you'll find that they're very open to talking about their background and how they got to where they are. Keep your LinkedIn profiles updated and put that you're open to work, and maybe recruiters will reach out to you, and you could get, you can get lucky that way too. And definitely reach out to Oneonta alumni on LinkedIn. It's great to be able to give back, especially, being that we were once in that position and we know how it is on the other side. So, with that being said, my LinkedIn is, my inbox is open. If you guys ever have any questions about interview questions or, learning more about the industry that I'm in or anything really, feel free to connect, feel free to shoot me a message.
That's fantastic advice. And thank you for offering your LinkedIn. I absolutely recommend to all students here, please request to connect with all of the panelists at the end of the program where possible. Thank you.
And for Pi, what resources and programs did you find the most important as a student, Oneonta, that helps you now?
Right. Well, first, delve into classes. Like I said before, I mean, I could go on about Fed Challenge and Senior Seminar, but like the courses like that can help simulate just real world experiences and applying the theory you learn in economic classes. In addition to that, there's so much clubs and resources. There's the Student Association, that's great. The Student Advisory Council I was part of, that's great. Even you guys with the economics club, that's fantastic. Love seeing that. And one of the biggest resources, just piggyback what off Matt said, is just networking. They say it so much, and the reason everyone says it so much is because it is extremely important. One of the biggest things I know was the Backpacks to Briefcases event. I myself didn't attend it my freshman, sophomore year, and I finally went my junior year, and it was an amazing experience. And I was just like, you get to set foot in that office, and you get to meet alumni in their office in New York City and get a chance to connect with them. And just that experience was one of the turning points for me as an economics student. I was like, okay, like this is what I want to do. Like, how do I get here? There's so much more alumni events similar to that. Definitely network with the alumni. As mentioned before, feel free to connect at LinkedIn. And it never hurts too. I mean, it's sometimes it's discouraging. Like you might not even get a message back, but trying to network, connect with people will never hurt at all. Worst thing they can do is just not respond. And if they don't respond, your life's not changing in any way. So definitely that. Just one of these, and definitely communicate with the professors. They have so much knowledge. They know so many people too. There's so many resources on Oneonta, from the professors, is the Career Development Center. They want you all to succeed, and all you guys have to do is just open that door.
Thank you. It was very informative.
Okay, Amanda, the next question that I have for you is, what benefits do you get from receiving your master's degree?
So some of the immediate benefits that I'm sure most of you really want to hear is that I actually experienced a 33% increase in starting salary, which is really significant and also great. And I also found that when I was looking for a new position that was more closely associated with my master's, in undergrad, I just was an econ major. I didn't have anything like finance under my belt. And I found that after I got my master's, I was able to look for more specific job titles that were a little bit closer to what I was looking for, what I thought my skill set would match better. And that also comes with a little bit of life experience as well. Being able to know how to look for a job, like Matt and Pi said, it is hard and sometimes it can be discouraging. But with a master's, I did find that it was a lot more easy to find something that I studied because it was a lot more specialized, and people and job hunters really like to see that next degree. Another immediate benefit was that I found that I was getting more interviews faster. You can obviously find positions without a master's. I did before I went to school. But now with COVID, and I know that job hunting is a little bit more difficult, I did feel pretty lucky that I got a significant amount of interviews, and that was able to help me to, choose a career path that matched me personally and my skill set. And I didn't have to settle for a job that might not be as specific for me or a right fit for me. So the master's really helped me sort of step into a career that I think I can see myself moving forward in.
Thank you. That all sounds great.
Next question for Kevin. Do you find having learned Python and R coding beneficial in your professional development? And what resources do you use to learn these languages?
Yeah, I cannot stress how beneficial it was to learn R and Python. I learned R a bit in grad school and then kind of self-taught myself R and Python when I first started my career. And then especially during COVID, when I had more time to telework and work from home, those skills open so many doors. And it really doesn't matter what field you're in. The world's obviously rapidly going digital everywhere. And just from talking to colleagues that have moved on to other fields, outside of the Justice Department, there are positions that will just flat out be, if you don't have a coding background, they're not interested. And it's not just your normal IT fields. It's everything from environmental science to social work. It's all moving online. And when you learn those skills, not only does it help you if you're in a more traditional econ field to do statistical analysis and that kind of stuff, simple automation of tasks that could take you infinitely longer to do manually, when you can automate them with code, you look like a hero in your office. Those skills are just so important now. I highly encourage everybody, no matter what field you're thinking of going into, to look into that. And there are tons of free resources online. I did it all self-taught with online classes. You can go to any of the big learning platform sites like edX, Coursera, Udemy. There's free courses there. And that can get you the groundwork. And then once you do that, just find projects on your own to do. And they might be hard at first, but any question you have while you're coding along, when you hit a stopping point, you can just pretty much Google search it and someone's run into a similar issue and there's your answer, and you can keep going. And slowly as you do that over time, you just learn this bag of tricks, and then it just grows on itself. And I really think it opens a lot of doors, and it's going to be one of the most important skills going forward.
Thank you.
Another fantastic round. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. There are 2 general questions, and there is 1 question for Amanda. When we are asking these 2 general questions, the order is going to remain the same. First Matthew, then Pi, then Amanda, then Kevin. Justin, if you'd like to read those, and then Amanda, we can ask you your question third.
So yeah, the first general question we have is, do you feel Oneonta adequately prepared you for the future? And then the second general question we have is, what are some tips to optimally perform in economics classes? just anyone can answer them.
Yes. So Matthew, if you want to start. We actually cannot hear you.
There we go. So I feel that Oneonta definitely gave me the skill set for what I needed in the future. And it was more on me finding the right industry for me to actually apply those skill sets. So I definitely, between the opportunities that I had to apply outside of the classroom and the coursework that I received, I definitely felt like I had a step ahead of who I was competing with for jobs. And as soon as I landed in the industry that I wanted to be in, I definitely felt like I was ready to flourish.
Thank you very much. And we still have the second general question, which are, what are some tips to perform optimally in economics classes? And then a question specifically for Amanda from John: which analytical skill would you say best transfer to your current position, and which programs are used most often?
Let's stick to one question at a time.
Oh, okay.
So we can get to all the panelists.
Right.
Thank you. Pi, if you would like to answer the initial question of, do you feel Oneonta adequately prepared you? That would be fantastic.
Right. I definitely feel it adequately prepared me. Pretty much there's never been a point where I ran across a roadblock. I'm like, oh, I wish Oneonta like taught me how to do this. Like, they definitely give you all the tools you need. It's really just on you yourself to just maximize it, figure out exactly what you want to do. Economics is such a diverse, versatile skill set. Like, you can do a lot of stuff with it. So I definitely felt Oneonta gave me all the tools. It's going to be, it does fall on you, where you have to figure out exactly what you want to do and what direction you want to go in.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Amanda, if you want to answer all just the first question first, that would be great. But I understand if you'd like to answer both.
Yeah, so John, I would say that the best analytical skill that I transferred into my current position is being able to analyze data sets. This is huge in finance and economics. I remember being in college fed, learning how to take a data set, interpret it for what it is, what it could be, and so on. My current position, I'm working in forecasting, so that actually plays a huge part in what I do. I'm forecasting potential budgets that we're going to be working with banks and stuff, and I did a lot of that in undergrad, and it's really taken me a long way in my current position. And then for programs used most often, I would say Excel by far. I can't even emphasize it enough. If you could take an Excel course, I would do it. Spend hours on Excel. If you want to stay in the economic or finance industry, I would say try and get as comfortable as you possibly can, because so far that's pretty much all I do is work in Excel.
That's awesome. And the other question that we had was, do you feel Oneonta has adequately prepared you for your future and where you are? If you'd like to add to that one, Amanda.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I think that Oneonta has a lot to offer. I think that Pi kind of said it just the way it needs to be said. It has a lot to offer if you want to take advantage of it. And a lot of your professors, all of your professors have a lot to offer as well. So if you're feeling, a little bit behind or have additional questions, they were always there and super helpful. And even your classmates too. I mean, specifically, I was very close with the three boys here. We were all super close in college and worked a lot together. And it was a lot of help to get other opinions on your work. And it gave a lot of insight on teamwork and stuff like that.
That's fantastic. Kevin, we are also wondering if you feel Oneonta has prepared you for your future.
Yes, definitely. I really think Oneonta had all the resources I needed to succeed. It was just on me to go out there and reach them. I think a great example of that is going to grad school for economics. I felt like the coursework at Oneonta prepared me. And one really like key moment was, building relationships with your professor can help so much with that. I remember talking to Dr. Siriani before I was going to grad school about what I could do to prepare. And he lent me a book on like mathematical concepts for economics and was like, oh, you should try working on this problem. And sure enough, that was like the first problem on my first midterm in grad school. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I saw this, 6 months beforehand. So those resources are out there all across the school, whether it's the coursework, the different classes you can take, the professors, other academic resources. And like Amanda said, your peers, it's there, but it's going to be on you to go out and reach for it and utilize it. And once you do that, it'll make the future so much easier for you.
That's wonderful. That is fantastic. I think this was great responses. And I apologize for how choppy this one was. We're doing a bit of trial and error. Every event has been a little bit different. So thank you for your responses. I know that we've added a bunch more questions in the chat. We didn't exactly answer Lucas's question, but for the sake of time, let's do one more round of formal questions and then we'll just stick to the chat and we'll go in the same order. Is that okay with everyone? Cool. So Matthew, your third targeted question that we have for you is kind of focused around the fact that you seem to have a lot of short-term positions in your professional history. We're wondering if there's any reason for this, and when you know, when you will know when you're in the right position for yourself.
Yeah, so I definitely had a unique career path, but everybody is going to have a different career path. Some people will work their whole life at one company, and some people will be at 4 different companies over the course of 2 years, like myself. The reason for this is that it's a combination of starting in the wrong industry, unfortunate COVID layoff, and then kind of feeling like I was falling behind a bit. And I think that made me more open to welcoming new challenges that would help me advance in my career. Fortunately, now I can tell from the start that being an underwriter at Dime is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Everybody has different things they value in prospective companies and positions. I narrowed mine down to about 3. The first one for me is growth. I needed a role that would challenge me and help me grow both professionally and personally. At Dime, I'm fortunate enough to attend, on-site trainings for professional growth and personal growth. We have plenty of community service events and everything like that. Another important aspect for me was leadership. Getting the proper support from your direct manager and getting along with your direct manager, because you're going to be dealing with them every single day. And something that was new to me at Dime that I hadn't had exposure to before was that our CEO holds company-wide Zoom meetings twice a week, or once every other week, sorry. And he just lets us know, how the bank is doing and where the bank is headed. So that type of leadership is really something that, sits well with me. And the third and most important to me would be you need to enjoy what you're doing. And I'm sure you've heard the saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I can't sit here and say that, since becoming an underwriter, there hasn't been a day that I haven't felt like I've worked. But I can say that there's never been a day where I've woken up and I said, I really don't want to work today, or I just can't do it today. And I think that's a clear indicator that you're where you belong.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
For Pi, next question is, you were highly involved in campus, participating in many organizations and receiving many awards. Was there ever a time you started to feel burnt out, or you called your time management into question?
Personally, I would say no. I was highly involved on campus, definitely with student association, some student advisory council, management club, even the ultimate frisbee club. But between that, I'd say no. It was never overwhelming. You'll definitely know when it gets challenging because like you'll just know definitely because my biggest thing was okay, like I'll know when if I have like no free time, I'm going like straight working until and when my day ends, I'm just going to sleep. Or if I see my grades dropping, then I'll know. But I never got to that point. It is all time management. Just have to make time and maximize all your time. But definitely now it's even I'd say definitely now, even in grad school, I've been busier. The work has been between now being a graduate assistant, going to doing coursework. It's been simulating a job environment. It feels like a 9 to 5 with overtime, work on weekends. But if it ever gets overwhelming, you'll know. And when it gets to that point, you just gotta take a breath and just take a mental break because you don't want to be mentally burnt out. And everything you're doing is for your own personal sake. So just so I'll just definitely say I was never overwhelmed. If you guys ever feel to the point where you guys are like, oh, like I have no time, I'm stressing out, I'm gonna explode, just take a breath and just remember why you're doing what you're doing and just take a breather.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay, Amanda, the third question that we have for you is, what are some of the struggles that you're facing in your new position as a result of still being in the midst of your studies?
So I actually just finished up my master's in August. So my new position and my master's didn't overlap. But I can talk about some of the struggles that I faced in my last position while I was working and going to school. And something that I want to bring up and I think is really important to take away, and that I wish someone had told me beforehand, is that when you go to your first job, whether you're in school or not, you're going to make mistakes. And I had graduated Oneonta feeling on top of the world, like I was ready to seize the day. And when I made my first mistake at my job, it was like the end of the world to me. But people make mistakes every day, all day. Obviously, I'm not saying it's good, but you shouldn't let it ruin your experience at your job. That being said, I did have challenges between school and work, and I saw that some of my mistakes were becoming, I don't want to say more frequent, but like silly minor errors, because I was having a hard time focusing on both. So, I mean, the way I kind of dealt with those things is, I mentioned a little bit earlier, stepping away from the computer really helped when you're sitting at it for long hours, and sort of recognizing, what's contributing to these challenges. Why am I making a mistake at work? It's because you're half focused on something else. So step away, regroup, like Pi said, take a small mental break, and it really goes a long way. That would probably be my main struggle with balancing the two. I actually didn't have too much of a struggle with time management, but more so time management in my brain. Like, which one am I going to focus on more so here or more so there? And it ended up, having a direct effect on what I was doing.
Thank you.
Next question for Kevin. How do you leverage your studies in economics to succeed in a non-traditional economic field?
Yeah, I think economics is one of those fields where it has wide applicability, but other people who didn't study it might not know that, because you're really kind of studying a cross-section of psychology, math, philosophy, political science, statistics. It kind of all comes together to affect the economy. So I've kind of found that, and this definitely applies to any field, it's like all about how you sell yourself. I truly believe, there are some jobs that require very specific hard skills, but for a lot of them, it's how you sell the skills you have. And for econ, I think the big one is critical thinking. And it's just trying to take that holistic picture of kind of cause and effect. And if you you can explain that to somebody in a job interview, or just even like when you're chatting with somebody, because a lot of opportunities come informally like that. They see, you know, hey, this person can think, this person can do this job no matter what it is. So even though I work in the Justice Department, I don't really interact with any economists. Still in the data analytics side of things, like the same skills from economics in that data analytics and critical thinking and data visualization presentations, like all directly apply. And it's just, you gotta know your skills and be able to sell them without, you know, missing a beat in an interview. So just really believe in what, you know, you've learned at Oneonta, because they have prepared you. And then just, you know, all you got to do is convince somebody, you know, what you're talking about, because you do. You just have to have the confidence to do it. And then you can kind of end up in these fields and be somebody who might not have the same background as everybody else, but that might be really valued because you studied economics, and people might turn to you when something's, since I studied behavioral econ in grad school, when it comes to human behavior stuff, people might ask me like, oh, Kevin, what do you think on that? Because I have a different background than people who just studied criminal justice or whatever, for as an example of my organization. So definitely say it's all about how you sell it, because it is a really broad field.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you again to all of our panelists for your absolutely incredible advice and your wonderful feedback that you've been able to give all of us. There are a few questions in the chat, and we are going to switch gears and kind of get to general question and answer. So if you have not asked a question yet in the chat, I highly encourage you to do so. I am going to preface it with one question that was recommended by the professional staff members within the department. The same order, we're going to start with Matthew, then Pi, then Amanda, then Kevin. We are wondering what your senior seminar paper was on, who advised it, and what skills you took away from it and how it kind of applies to your current position.
Yeah, sure. So I kind of touched on this before a little bit. My senior seminar paper, Dr. K was my advisor, and we did research on the effect of binge drinking in high school on high school performance and on human capital in the future. So really, my big takeaway was being able to take such large data sets and translate them into, you know, a PowerPoint slide that anybody can kind of understand, and being able to explain that really to anyone. You know, right now I'm taking years of financial statements from companies and really changing it into 2 essential numbers for a loan. So like senior seminar really prepared me to analyze such large data sets and to be able to present them with confidence to our committees.
That's fantastic. And that sounds like a really exciting paper. I know there's a few of us in here that are getting ready to start senior seminar next semester. So not just good ideas or anything, but that is wonderful. Pi, we were wondering the same question for you.
Right. My paper was titled, "Does Professional Outcome, Among Other Factors, Impact a High School Basketball Recruit's College Decision?" I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Kidusu and Dr. McAvoy. And I guess some of the takeaways from that was just like presenting skills, getting feedback, and working with feedback, because your paper evolves throughout the course. I believe like it was like every 3 weeks you're going to be presenting where you're at the paper, and just getting the feedback and applying it. It's like you come back 3 weeks later, it's like you see the people at the feedback. It's like, oh, I have this for you this time. Like just growing your paper like that and growing with feedback and just being able to present, because it's not only giving you feedback on the content, it's just presenting. And also it's the data modeling aspect of it, because depending on what topic you choose, you are working with a lot of data, and just being able to translate that data into figures to display in a presentation format. It really goes a long way. I know the path I want to go to, that's in my MBA program. I've been applying that now, so it's definitely one of the useful things. And something I do want to add about senior seminar, it's never too early to start talking, but to the professor you want to about about your paper. I even recommend, like, if you have an idea what professor you want to work with, you can start messaging them, emailing them now, because I know I emailed Dr. K and Dr. McAvoy in the late fall semester before the spring semester started, and it really goes a long way, just getting that head start, building that connection. You don't want to be in the middle of the first 2 weeks of spring semester finding a professor to work with on a topic you might not even enjoy. So definitely take your time, find the right professor, find the right relationship you have, and just connect with them, build that relationship, and find the perfect topic.
That's awesome. And great advice for students to just be prepared and kind of key into what they're interested in. That's great. Amanda, same question.
Sure. So I worked with Dr. Story on a project. We measured the gender wage gap per industry, which was time consuming to say the least, right, Dr. Story? We did a lot of coding, a lot of trial and error type of analysis. But, my biggest takeaway from that was a couple of things. I know Pi and Matt touch base on presenting. It's a really, really huge thing, being able to present in front of your professors and be criticized by them and take their advice. It's nerve-wracking, but it goes so long and so far in the real world. And then additionally, I would say kind of just being able to sit down and work with a data set that might not be working exactly the way you want it to, or it's frustrating, and be prepared to sort of adjust your end game, I guess you would say. Pi said, even your topic might change. And so that's something that I've been able to carry through to working. Not everything's going to work out exactly the way you plan for it, but not allowing yourself to get frustrated and just taking that forward and seeing what your results might be, or trying a different method. It really goes a long way.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Kevin, let's hear it.
Yeah, for my senior seminar project, I worked with Dr. Siriani, and we were studying how college endowments affect their admissions. So as colleges become more wealthy, do they pollute more, pollute less? So it was an interesting topic. And I think the big thing for me on that is I repeatedly referred to that project on many job interviews with the US government. I think the most common question that I've seen verbatim asked multiple times is, give us an example of a time you've taken data from multiple sources and analyzed it together to come up with like a final product. And your senior seminar paper is a great opportunity for that experience. It really kind of, in an interview, you kind of want to tell a story, and it's a kind of a natural story of how you grab the data, clean it, bring it together, and together kind of put out a final product and your piece of analysis, and then present it to an audience. And all that together is just a holistic package that you can talk about, which is just like a really valuable experience, in my opinion. So I would say it definitely look forward to it. It's a lot of work. You'll definitely learn a lot about how long data cleaning can be versus the actual analysis piece can be quite quick in comparison. But that's a real world experience that you'll get into especially if you go into a data analytic field in your professional life.
Oh, more fantastic advice for all of us that are going to be in senior sem soon. Awesome. That's fantastic. So as we mentioned before, we do have a few questions in the chat, and as everyone can see, Pi did have to go. He has left his email in the chat for anyone who is interested in touching base with him or asking him more direct questions. Justin, if you would like to one at a time ask the questions in order down the line, starting with Caitlin's question. Same order, we're going to modify a little bit though. We're going to go Matthew to Amanda to Kevin. Awesome.
Yes, Caitlin's question was to Matthew specifically. Yes. What leadership experience did you have at Oneonta that really prepared you for your current position?
Well, I was in a few leadership positions, being the community service chair to the Student Advisory Council, being a part of Omicron Delta Epsilon, and also being the captain of the ultimate frisbee team for a couple of years, which is how I got to get close with the 3 other panel members here. But I think the one that probably prepared me the most would be the community service chair to the Student Advisory Council. Being able to kind of work as a team and bounce ideas of how we can make a program better for everyone else, and being the chair for the community service part of the Student Advisory Council helped me really with kind of like leading events and logistics behind taking 5 or 6 people and putting on these huge events, hundreds of people joining. So
thank you. Yeah, very interesting experience. And the next question, which is based off Jack, Lucas's, and Jillian's, just slightly modified, was anyone can answer. What skills or tips do you have for current students in any field that would allow them to be more successful in economics courses and remain competitive in the job market?
Yeah, I can take this one too. I think what's really important is to use the resources that you have available to you. For economics courses, go to office hours and, ask your professors anything that you have a question on, build a relationship. And as far as, remaining competitive in the job market, if you have spare time, work on developing a skill that maybe, you don't have right now that could set you apart from somebody else applying for the same position as you.
Thank you very much. And there was one more question from Victoria Shapiro. What is something you wish you knew prior to entering your career?
I could take this one. So I touched base on this a little bit earlier, but there are, a multitude of things I wish I knew before I started working. But the biggest one is that you're going to make mistakes. And I know it sounds silly, and I know I said it before, but when you get hired in an entry-level position, your bosses and higher ups, they expect these things of the entry-level positions. But it's really what you do with these mistakes that can set you apart from other people. Learning from it, fixing it, moving forward, can really, stick out to higher ups. In my last position, someone made a mistake and tried to cover it up and didn't go forward, and they actually ended up being let go. In a different instance, say I made the same mistake but tried to go straight up to my boss about it and learn from that mistake and make sure it doesn't happen again. That can go a long way in your career, even after entry level. So that's something I would take away from entering the workforce.
Thank you. Really shows how important it is how you respond to mistakes and failures. Thank you very much. There's another question from Brandon, but I felt it was semi-answered.
I do. I feel as though we did answer that in the general chat. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to add it to the chat now, professional staff included who are in this call. We are over time, so I completely understand if we're looking to wrap up soon. So I am going to start with closing remarks. First, I would like to thank Dr. Kitasu for helping us with the Economics Club as a whole, making sure that we are staying on top of our things and getting the questions done and everything put together, and helping us to organize this event and reaching out to our alumni. Thank you to the alumni for not only volunteering to be here, but actually showing up and answering so thoroughly for all of this. Absolutely, you're completely right, Professor McAvoy. They were absolutely wonderful. You can just tell with how they've responded today. Thank you to Dr. Siriani and all the professional staff for not only preparing our alumni, but also us as current students. the president, the dean, the provost, and Michelle Hansen. Thank you all for being here, and Michelle for helping us plan and organize all of this, as well as the general body and e-board who helped to put together a lot of these questions. Please, once again, feel free to reach out to any of the alum on LinkedIn. Thank you all for being here. I think the e-board is going to hang back. Any professional staff who would like to stay here, feel free to do so, as well as anyone else if you have any questions that you'd like to follow up with at the end. But I'm going to pass it to Dr. K for any remarks that he may have. And I think that this is it for our third event for this semester. Congratulations, guys.
Oh, yes, I'd like to thank everyone, all the econ board members, all the panelists for doing this. I think this event, in my opinion, is extremely unique, right? To coaching from the peer-to-peer level. And I think the information you're providing, I hope that the students take it seriously and sincerely, that this is what they're going to expect in the future. And I want to remark on one more thing that was said, which is something I mentioned in my class, is that success is about how you handle failure. So if you want to be successful, you have to enjoy failure in the sense that you want to learn from failure. So with that, taking that forward, just appreciate learning and you will be where you need to be in the future. So I want to leave with that.
That was wonderful, thank you. Again, if any other professional staff would like to add to any of our closing remarks, feel free to do so. If not, I am going to release all of the students who are, I'm sure, very stressed about finals. Absolutely, thank you guys. And thank you,
very
Dr.
much for showing
for
up.